Good morning.
Good morning, you two. Look at you. You look bright and shiny. It is a special episode for multiple reasons. However, Stephanie, happy Canada Day. For the rest of
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command.
I wasn't sure whether or not to let it play all the
I
way
was going to
through.
say, is that, are we going to listen to the entire?
She got the words wrong, but that's okay. It was cute.
But she's saying so lovely.
Stephanie, nobody on our side of the border would have known that. Like you, the only reason.
That's right.
You guys don't even realize. Like I remember talking to a friend of mine who actually worked down in Bellingham, like in Seattle, so very close to our border, and he also lives in Chicago, so very close to our border. And I was telling him once about Canada, and he started laughing. He's like, "You guys have a national holiday?" I'm like, "What? Is everybody outside of the U.S. not worthy of their own national holiday?"
I will tell you, I was incredibly inspired by the patriotism. There is flags everywhere. It is a very big holiday up there, and thank you for allowing me to.
Oh,
Sorry. Sorry.
Oh, that's today's entire episode. That's right. We're just going to play the girls singing the national anthem wrong, which is going to be great.
Why don't we just play it intermittently throughout the entire episode?
I'm pretty sure that's exactly what's going to happen today. Also a special episode because it's just the three of us. It's the first time since you've officially joined us, Stephanie, that we are just going the three of us without any other experts,
raw dogging it, right?
We're just raw dogging it, exactly. We are raw dogging it. Stephanie and Anthony, did you know that 73% of startups fail because they can't find product market fit? Not because they lack growth tactics. Patagonia founder Yvonne, by the way, one of the great founder biographies. Let my people go surfing. Yvonne Chouinard, I think is how you say it.
Chouinard.
So the best Chouinard, yeah.
Chouinard.
The best marketing is a good product, but most founders treat it like a numbers game. Today on How to Founder, we're going to be talking about no nonsense growth hacks. I am your host, Chris Franks. With me, the lovely Canadian Stephanie Hayes, all the way from the frozen north, which is not really frozen right now, and the very large-headed Anthony Franco, both literally and metaphorically today. You are, very. It is great to have you. Welcome. What do you think about the format, guys? What do you think about this, just the three of us? Anthony, you like it, or are you already trying to figure out how to get off this particular podcast?
Yeah, it's just like every other podcast that we have. I'm like, what the hell am I doing here?
The guests are thinking that too.
The guests, you're right. So there you go.
Stephanie, what about you? You think this is a good format? You think this is something we should try out?
I'm reserving judgment until we get further into this. It has the potential to be great, and it has the potential to go entirely in the other direction. So
I think this might be our first 6-hour podcast, because for us to get through 3 points is going to be incredibly difficult. Now, we'll try to keep it concise. We are talking about growth hacks today. And this is one, and when we were thinking about the first episode to try out just the three of us talking, this is one that the three of us are pretty experienced in, and I really do think it's going to be a good conversation. So I want to just start off by asking a question before we talk about the individual tactics. Stephanie, what is a growth hack? What is this thing we call growth hack?
It's something that Silicon Valley bros made up to sound tough, but really, really, what it is, I think a hack is when you discover something, a shortcut, or you discover something that is gonna help you, get somewhere faster, or learn something that maybe the rest of the world doesn't know. So growth hacks for me are like secrets, or tips or tricks or observations from what other people have done that you're going to try and put in place yourself.
I like it. Anthony, agree? Is that what a growth hack is?
Yeah, it's basically doing something in a way that nobody else has done it before, in an attempt to navigate around perceived or real rules of getting customer awareness.
So I'm going to ask my first controversial question. Is there such thing as a growth hack? Is growth hacking even a thing anymore? Like, so famously,
100% yes.
So I came out of a world where growth marketing was born out of this concept called growth hacking. Growth hacking was about engineering virality into product. Famously, Reid Hoffman with LinkedIn, Hotmail with the link at the bottom of it. It was about product features that led to the growth of the product. Now, we took it a different direction with growth marketing. We said, what can we do to take a similar discipline and engineering approach to customer acquisition? But it's not necessarily that original vision of growth hacking. So I'm trying to get to, what does growth hack mean to a founder today, Anthony?
So I'm gonna challenge Anthony a little bit here, because I think that growth hacking only really happens if our definition is that we're doing something that hasn't been done before. It only really happens on the edge, right? When there are people trying out new business models. And I've seen it recently with a lot of these guys who are creating these newsletter-based businesses, and they're putting up like 7 figures in without any sort of infrastructure or building any sort of like anything around it. And so it's kind of interesting, right? And my friend Chris, he's been growth hacking what these guys are doing and trying to create sort of a playbook from it. So all the things that are happening in sort of the more settled businesses, I'm not sure that they're hacks anymore. I think that hacking always happens on the edge, right?
Yeah, that's it. So a hack is like, it's so the actual definition of hack in this scenario is use a computer to gain unauthorized access to data in a system. That's really what hack means. So it's kind of like a way to rough cut your way into something, not following the traditional rules.
But a hack requires a leader, right? It requires an innovator.
Yeah, 100%. It also requires, so once you've done a growth hack and you've exploited the hack, right? One of two things happen. One, it's closed. The ability to do it again is severely limited, or everybody starts doing it and it's no longer a hack, it's a tactic. It's just a marketing tactic.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
I think that's the point that I want to get to first, is that when we talk about growth hacks, is you really are suggesting that you're doing something innovative. But the fundamentals of it are the same thing, which is how do you talk to the right customers, the right message, et cetera. You may be doing something innovative to get to that point where you're trying to deliver something new and innovative to that customer. But it is just the mechanics. And also, the other thing I don't like about the term growth hacking is that oftentimes hacking is the long cut, not the shortcut. It is about doing the hard work to find that piece, that tactic that's going to be incredibly valuable to your particular audience. And it's not a shortcut. Agree or disagree, Anthony?
Yeah, 100%. So what you're really saying is we're going to do a growth hack is we're going to make something go viral. And it's like, really, like you're buying a lottery ticket. and it's fine to try growth hacks, but not at the cost of doing the things that you know are going to work. The hard work of building a customer awareness and building a brand and building an email list, building a great product. Like I call it a roll of the dice. Like, should you try to growth hack? Yeah, but you're rolling the dice, and if you're going to Vegas, you put a little bit of money on the craps table, but you don't put your house on it.
Yeah, it's so I think if we can try to define, and Stephanie, I'm going to ask you to do the hard work here and define it for us. But if we had to define a growth hack, it is a tactic of which may not be a shortcut, but is something that you've worked incredibly hard to find a tactic that works for your specific audience. That's kind of my framing of it. Give us a definition in your mind.
I sort of think it's more about, I think if we're hacking into something that already exists, right? And we go back to the technical version of hacking. We're hacking into something that already exists to figure out how it's been done, or to figure out, or to, get the data or whatever. So to me, it's about copying, right? It's about trying to reverse engineer someone else's strategy to figure out how you can use it too, or change it a little bit to find your own growth. And so this is why these guys who are on the front, and women are on the front edge of these innovative business models, and everyone is growth hacking their businesses to try and adopt that new model. So that's growth hacking to me. The clients that we're working with have been around and have been doing stuff for a while. And so to me, we're just talking about growth strategies now, right?
I think it's an interesting piece, because a lot of people will have strong feelings about this, but for the sake of this argument, for the sake of our Canada Day podcast, let's assume that we can growth hack. Let's assume that what you're going to say to me, and you're going to teach me about your killer growth hacks, right? These are killer. This is your best tactic. You've never told a soul about these tactics you're about to tell this audience today, right, Anthony? Right? So for this killer growth hack, let's assume the fact that it's going to work. It's going to work for my business. So let's get to it, Anthony. Or excuse me, we're going to start with Stephanie. Right? You wanted to go last because you don't actually have anything, do you? You have to.
I got nothing.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
He's going to growth hack our growth hack.
Yeah, it reminds me of the story that Anthony told me. He said, the hospital botched his brain surgery, and he said he's got half a mind to sue him.
Did you know that when you die, your eyes are the last part to go?
No,
they dilate.
Once again, top me with the dad jokes. Nice.
Oh, Canada.
Happy Canada Day, everyone. It's a Canada Day miracle. All right, Stephanie, what is your one killer growth hack? If you're talking to founders out in the world, what is the thing that you would recommend that we do that is going to slingshot us to rapid growth? And I think you're guaranteeing that we become billionaires if we follow this growth.
I always do. That's part of my marketing strategy.
Exactly. You're guaranteed, or 5% of your money back. All right. What tactic do you have for us today?
Okay. My tactic, build partnerships, not ads.
Ooh, I like it. Tell me.
Yeah. So one of the most effective and sustainable strategies for us to grow is to borrow other people's audiences, right? And for some reason, people always resist this, but it is the most effective and the quickest way to build an audience of customers, to build trust with your audience. Like, everything happens at the same time. Everybody wants to grow fast through ads, but what I can tell you is it's a leaky bucket, right? Yes, it works for sure. You build an audience, you build exposure. I'm not saying don't do it, but I have seen time and time again that businesses that rely on an ad strategy, are just dumping lots and lots of profitability down the tube. So when I have a business owner that, we look at their valuation and we build a growth strategy backwards from that, one of the areas that they can increase their profitability quite dramatically and quite quickly is by really going hard on a partnership and collaboration strategy that's going to get them in front of lots and lots of people quickly with trust, right? And so that doesn't cost them anything, usually doesn't. But there's lots there's lots of creative options. In fact, I have a partner I work with, and that this is what we do for our clients. We have a little system, a little offer that we put together to just start building out their partnership and collaboration strategy, and it just works.
So give me an example of a partnership, because I'm struggling to think, I get it in theory. I just go build partnerships. I draft off of somebody else's audience. Why would somebody want to work with me as a startup? If I go try to build a partnership, what does that look like?
Well, this is why when you go and you look for these partners, you need to understand what they're motivated by, right? So for some of these partners, they might be motivated by having a person come in with a new idea for their audience that shows that they're innovative or what have you. Sometimes these collaborations are, joint offers, which are building audiences for both. Sometimes the partner has an event and you show up at the event and you speak at the event, and it's good for them because they've got, a variety of different topics, or they've got, on podcasting, my podcast guesting blew up because I started talking about something that no one else is talking about. And so that's really attractive to podcast hosts because
Canada?
they've got,
you started talking about Canada?
I just talk about Canada. That's all I talk about.
Yeah.
She says a boat and processed over and over again.
Yeah, that's all I do. It's like spoken word, right? I get on the podcast and I just recite.
It's a boot, freedom.
Yeah, in like a different pentameter, I just recite about process. It's all about process.
That's amazing. All right, so I want to give you, Anthony, a chance to react to that because I think it's fairly brilliant. And then, do you have any examples before I come back to you, Stephanie? Do you have any examples of what Stephanie's talking about?
Yeah, actually, so my growth hack is very similar.
He's fully copying you again.
I
fully.
Want to go first, Stephanie.
I have another one that I'll talk about that didn't work. But
wait, aren't we supposed to talk about what did work?
I
got a lot of things that don't work. But doing an event where you invite people, you invite other companies that have similar ICP, ideal customer, and you co-sponsor it. So your email list or your network may be small, but if you can find 10 people that have small email lists, now you have a 10x email list that you can all create an event that you co-market. And the reason why they would choose to work with you, Chris, as a startup is you're the one doing it. They're not, right? So it's like I've got 9 other folks that are bringing their audience to it. You bring yours, and now we have a larger audience to chase. I think partnerships is the problem I have with saying that though is it's not a hack. It's I don't. It doesn't fit my definition of what a hack is. So I probably need to change my definition.
Well, you call me a hack all the time, Anthony. So
that's my definition of a hack.
So that's smart, is what you're saying.
My head, exactly right.
Smart, and I'm idiotic, and so makes sense. Yeah. All right. So why is that not a hack? Because it's just a draft. It's hard work. Because I think it does fit our definition of what a hack
but
is.
it's also not a so it's not a shortcut. It's not something that somebody else hasn't thought of. It's not a hack. Always is like it's a clever marketing tactic that nobody has ever thought of. It's going against the grain, breaking the rules, and that's again my definition of it. So it doesn't fit. And the reason why I have that definition, Stephanie, is because when you read about these very famous growth hacks, like what Airbnb did, which is they basically scraped Craigslist and then stole all of Craigslist data in order to build their community of air mattress beds.
They did research. It was fun.
They did research, but those, I mean, what OpenAI did to growth hack their LLM, right? That they cheated. So I always think of growth hacking as like an acceptable cheat to growth. So what you're talking about is a great tactic, but I don't consider it a growth hack.
Here's the reason why I disagree, Anthony, is because the alternative of that is what Stephanie is saying is that you go find people and you figure out a group of people that have overlap with what you want to do. The alternative is you have to go build that yourself. That's not a hack.
I'm not saying it's not a good tactic. It's a great tactic.
It's a
great tactic. It doesn't fit my definition of a hack, though, but it's a great tactic.
Again, we're questioning your language skills.
We get to take him off the show.
Yeah, exactly. He's definitely not Canadian with his
Emotional, damn it.
Oh, that is so good. All right. So I think it's a great tactic. We'll stay with that as our first hack, even though Anthony and I will argue about the definition of the word hack. This is going to be great. This week on The Meaning of Words by Anthony. It's going to be a great podcast.
I'm going to put my last 2 cents in around the, the
please
word
go ahead.
hack.
Great.
Hack to me means you're stealing from someone else.
I like it.
When I hack into someone's system, I can't hack into a system that doesn't exist.
Ooh, I like it. Anthony's looking up and to the left. That's
what you're talking about. You're talking about innovating.
I think you get bonus points every time you say the word "about" on Canada here to this audience, which is
the squirrel's working overtime in my head right now.
I know I can see there's smoke coming out of your ears.
Yeah.
I don't have to be right, but this is just the way. But I am. But it's that's how I think. That's how I think about hacks.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking about people that are listening and like, give me something that I've never heard before.
I still think that's a very innovative approach, but that's just
it is.
So Anthony, let's hear yours because now you're up. Give us your go-to innovative.
Yeah, let's hear it, Anthony. Let's hear something nobody has ever heard of before.
I always think about growth hacking. The big swings. I've never done a big swing growth hack. So my definition, the way I think about growth hacking, I'm not willing to stick my neck out in that way. I think of a company like Liquid Death and how they growth hacked their brand by essentially insulting their customers, right? They basically mocked the customers that they were going after by telling them they're too scared to drink water, and did these horrible ads that I thought this company is going nowhere, and certainly I was wrong. Or something so bizarre and sideways, like I go back to even like a marketing hack that Taco Bell did with the Chihuahua, the Yo Quiero. I thought that was the dumbest ad on the face of the planet, but turned out to be brilliant. So I've never tried anything like that is so sideways that risks my reputation by how awkward and weird it is. I'm awkward and
Anthony,
weird enough.
You're on this podcast. You risk your reputation every single day.
No, I'm solidifying my reputation as somebody who doesn't know what the hell they're doing. But I do like smaller growth hacks. I like things that are more personal. Some things that the way I think about a growth hack is, how can I get an idea of how can I get in front of my customers in a way that nobody's thought about? And I did this once for MC Squares, where we were looking for companies that were ready to buy whiteboards. that's like really hard. That intent marketing can be really expensive if you're buying that list, or really hard in any other way. So what we did, and it was, I would say, moderately successful, is I had this guy named Max, Chris, Max,
Love
go
Max.
out and chase. He went to carpet installer companies and followed the delivery vans to the companies that they were going to install carpet, figuring that the companies that are installing carpet are about at the point where they're ready to buy whiteboards for their business. And was it wildly successful? No, but it did work. We've got a couple customers on it. But I like to think about things in that way. I called it the knee kicker strategy because that's a tool that carpet layers use. And so again, a lot of those things aren't going to be successful, but if you do enough of them, one of them's bound to work. I don't know, Chris, am I coming at that wrong?
I love it. Also, I love Stephanie's face when you called it the knee kicker strategy, which I think she was thinking she might want to kick you in the knees. Moment.
Isn't this a version of the same thing? Like we partner. Maybe you're not creating a partnership with the carpet installers, but you're following them.
Yes,
they're essentially serving the same audience, right? And they have it's an indicator that your audience might be. I don't know how the hell you find. Do you register somewhere in a database saying I'm ready to buy a whiteboard? Like nobody does, right? So it was smart. It was smart to think through the customer's journey. Why would you be buying a whiteboard while you're doing renovations? Are you building an office? Like, yeah, that's smart.
July 1st, 8:27 a.m. Mountain Time. Stephanie called you smart, Anthony. Mark it down.
I did not call him smart. I said, if you were thinking that way, that's a smart way of thinking.
So
big difference.
Technically, what we call that in the world of growth marketing or marketing in general customer acquisition is trying to solve the timing problem. You can have the perfect product and the perfect audience and miss on timing. And timing is incredibly hard to solve. As a matter of fact, most people can't solve it. And so you spend all this time and energy and money trying to sit in people's peripheral vision. So when they realize that they're ready to solve this problem that they have, that you're there and present in their mind. Anthony, what you're talking about is trying to solve the timing problem in a very interesting and unique way. And I think it's a really profound question, Stephanie, is that how can we look at what are the indicators that are not expensive lists, because those intent marketing platforms are notoriously expensive and notoriously crappy. And so how can we find those levels of intent that are close to what you want to buy? I think it's a very smart tactic, Anthony. Stephanie, what do you think?
Well, so I had a client who was a death coach. Okay. She was a life coach, but she worked primarily with people who had either experienced a close call with death, or who had just lost a loved one, or who were terminally ill and close to death. So she, what we did together is I said, you got to go and think of all the people that someone is near to when they are going through this. And so she went out there and made sure that she was known by funeral directors and by the chaplains at the hospital and by, by doctors and by all the folks who are part of that circle. It's the same kind of thing, right? So if you can think clearly about the experiences that your customer has that are adjacent to the time that you would provide them services or a product or whatever it's going to be, it's the same kind of thing. It's like, how do I find all these partners in my ecosystem that are going to touch that client in some way, hopefully appropriately, that along their journey.
I just love the fact that we went from death to touching inappropriately so quickly.
Chris, I want to hear from you. So this is like your wheelhouse. What growth hack are you most proud of?
Thank you for asking, Anthony. I appreciate the opportunity to answer a question for once. And I
How'd
will
you turn this
say-
into a poor me? Like
Well,
I
well,
it's the
legit am
victim
curious.
show.
It's
Aw.
It's the
It's
victim
really all
show.
about you guys. I'm here to serve you, particularly Stephanie on Canada Day. Can't got to give her the mic. So I'm going to say something that is overtly obvious but incredibly complicated. AI has changed everything in the world of marketing, growth hacking, growth marketing, and every part that you can possibly imagine with a customer acquisition. Anthony, what you mentioned LLMs. What is ChatGPT trained on?
The internet.
What is the internet, Anthony?
It's all marketing.
It's all marketing. Exactly. So it turns out ChatGPT is incredibly good at marketing. Somebody, a LinkedIn user, said they wanted to hear my answer. Actually, that's incredible. Thank you, whoever the LinkedIn user.
Did you?
So-
Is that a plant?
I actually did that. That's me as the LinkedIn user. I somehow anonymized my LinkedIn user.
They are not. It says something that the person asking you for your advice doesn't want their name to be known.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Actually, that is my ChatGPT bot right now asking my answer with that. So I'm just going to go very, very high level, which is in the world of growth marketing and just the world that I came out of over the past 15 or 20 years. I constantly say, if you get the who right, if you get your audience right, everything else is so much easier. Now, the question then becomes, for a new business, how do you get the who right? ChatGPT is the answer. You can build, or other LLMs. I mean, I'm sure that they're all the same. You can build incredible, deep persona-based research around individual target markets. I'm not suggesting you don't need to get out of the office and you still need to go talk to actual humans and you need to figure out what their problems are. But it can shortcut you to build incredibly powerful marketing messages, understand drivers, figure out those clever tactics, Anthony, by just asking ChatGPT to give you some ideas. I will say that I am thrilled to not be in the world of growth marketing anymore because I genuinely believe that AI has and will continue to change everything. Very specifically, create an agent, a chatbot agent that is an individual customer persona. So go in and train that chatbot, that individual agent, to act on behalf of your customer segment. Give it the demographics, give it the drivers, give it any transcripts of interviews you've done with those individual customers. And then make sure that you go, and if you have a question, you really specifically want to target an individual audience, ask ChatGPT. I've been shocked at how good that stuff is. All right. What do you got?
I've had an argument with my wife through ChatGPT. So you did that exact thing and told ChatGPT to act as my wife during an argument I was having with her so that I could win the argument. And it wound up that I realized that I was an idiot and had to go apologize to my wife because ChatGPT was that good. So it works. It totally works.
I just asked ChatGPT if it thinks it's a growth hack, and it said yes. ChatGPT can absolutely be a growth hack if used strategically. It's a powerful multiplier for time, creativity, and execution. And here's how: speed to content, faster ideation, customer research, automation, delegation. But interestingly, it's thinking about time and efficiency, and you're thinking about its intelligence. And I think that's interesting. I also asked it what it thinks a growth hack is. It's a clever, low cost, and often unconventional tactic designed to quickly grow a business, especially in its early stages. Unlike traditional marketing, growth hacks focus on speed, leverage, and efficiency, using minimal resources to get maximum results. My stand on this is that I don't think any growth hacks are new ideas. I think they're versions of the strategies that we already know.
Also, I think that's all new ideas. By the way, Anthony, that LinkedIn user said that was Tammy Dorr. I'm guessing it's not actually Tammy Dorr, our old friend, founder of Denver Startup Week. Back
Oh
in the day.
wow, Tammy Dorr's like.
I'm thinking it's probably her chatbot. I'm thinking it's her AI that is asking this question.
Tammy
Thank you,
Dorr,
Tammy.
like
Good to hear from
if
you.
Tammy Dorr's listening to our podcast, we have
That
made
counts
it.
as like 3 listeners right there.
We've made it. No, we've made it.
That's pretty
Tammy
much
Dorr,
it.
like
We're yeah.
she's
either
awesome.
that or
I love
she's
her.
sick. She's got maybe she has a fever at the moment and she's just thinks it's a fever dream. All right. We're going to do something a little bit different with a speed round because we're going to have both of you. But are you ready, Anthony and Stephanie, for the speed round? By the way, that wasn't an actual question. It was, a hypothetical because I was going to play the graphic no matter what. All right. I'm going to ask each of you a series of questions, starting with you, Stephanie. Paid ads or organic content? What's going to work better?
What's going to work better? Paid ads.
Anthony, viral moment or steady growth?
Yes.
Stephanie, automation or human touch?
Yes.
Anthony, online or in-person community?
In person.
Stephanie, data-driven or gut instinct?
Gut instinct.
Anthony, scale fast or build slow and steady?
What's the middle? Whatever is between those two things.
I like it. I have had fun with y'all today. Tell me what you have learned. Stephanie, give me your takeaways from this episode. And Anthony, I want you to do the same.
Oh, Canada.
Sorry.
We need to make sure we control who gets access to the media.
I liked trying to think of what I liked. I liked challenging my definition of what a growth hack is and thinking more about how creative we can be. And I think that's a growth hack in itself, is allowing yourself to be creative inside of your business. And I also am reminded of how a lot of people try to find hacks, and sometimes they're better off, depending on what stage they're in their business, to go back to what's worked.
I like it. Anthony.
I also did a ChatGPT search, and the thing that
are you guys even paying attention to the episode, or are you guys just on with your chat?
No, this was before I came on. I actually, I know you can't tell, but I do a little bit of prep before.
Actually, yeah, I'm not even paying attention right now.
And one of the things that it said is growth hacking is a tactical Band-Aid. It's hacking is usually just traditional marketing tactics rebranded with tech jargon. And I really kind of like that definition of it. So this is just smart marketing. And I think growth hacking is really just a way to say, hey, let's go back to the way we used to do things. Smart copy, hand-to-hand combat, understand your customer, and figure out ways to come at them in a sideways way. And I don't think it's new. I think it's just going back to how David Ogilvy may have done stuff, who used to sell vacuum cleaners door to door, I think. So it's like,
were you alive then?
It's yes, I was. I was. I think I was alive when David Ogilvy was alive, but I wasn't alive to sell vacuum cleaners door to door.
God, I so much want to go down this rabbit hole of you selling vacuum cleaners. But anyway, continue and finish just for the sake of our audience.
I totally lost my train of thought, but I think it's just going back to like reading. I'm a big fan of reading old advertising books and the way they used to do things and the way they used to think about talking to customers and reaching customers. and we've lost the art of doing things the way of speaking to people, because Facebook made it so much easier to reach audiences and allowed us to be lazy as marketers. So I like this notion of growth hacking is actually just going back to the way things used to be done.
If you'll allow me to weigh in on one of the
Please, no,
that
please.
I continue to bring away, and I think it's an important point from this episode, which is when we talk about growth hack, it's using a tactic that's not currently in vogue a lot of times. And Anthony, to your point, and Stephanie, to your point, a lot of those things that are not currently in vogue are the things that used to work. So community, drafting, finding an audience that you can draft behind. And so when I was coming up, a growth hack was Facebook ads, because you could do impressions incredibly quickly and you could get there because it was not in vogue. And now the competition is incredibly fierce with those ads, and getting impressions is harder, getting people to take actions harder. And so now looking for tactics that are not normal, including meeting people in person, Anthony, doing events, doing online events, Stephanie, figuring out other people's communities. I think that those are all incredibly good and smart tactics. One thing growth
hacking is not, do not blanket message people on LinkedIn.
Yeah, do not freaking do that. I mean,
that is not growth hacking. Stop doing that.
Do that, Anthony, just to get people to our events. But yeah, that's actually, maybe it is now that we say it's
maybe
not.
Maybe it's not. Maybe it's back in again. Yeah,
that's exactly right. The moment we say that it's not cool is probably when it is.
It's got to work somehow, because otherwise, why would they still do it? Like, it's got to be a numbers game where just somebody is like,
because
the
people that do that convince other people that don't do that it's worth paying them for their time to do that.
Yeah. So,
consultants
apparently spam text messages from people who find me very attractive. Like, that's, it's got to work for somebody.
I don't get any of those.
Because, I get several high heart emoji. I had a fun time with you all. Thank you so much. Thank you for the audience for actually putting up with our tomfoolery today on Canada Day. Anthony, what do we have coming up?
I
forgot deep dive recommendations. Should we do that real quick?
Yeah, you do deep dive recommendations.
Okay, let's do deep dive recommendations real quickly. There's a book called Traction, different traction than we normally talk about, by Gabriel Weinberg, The Definition Guide to Startup Growth. Growth Hacking Marketing by Ryan Holiday, the famous book that actually coined the phrase. It's still worth a read, even though that most of those are not kind of usable anymore. And then one of my very favorites, Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller, Craft Messages that Convert Strangers to Product Customers. And one that I actually just got introduced to, Product-Led Growth by Wes Bush. I have not read it, but I hear people that just swear by that book. So I need to do it. Good conversation. Now, Anthony, what do we have coming?
Thank you all so much for listening. Please be sure to visit us at howtofounder.com, where you can connect with us on LinkedIn and subscribe to our YouTube channel. What I would love from our audience is tell us what you would like to hear from us. So we're doing our own growth hacking on the podcast, and really want to understand what topics you want to hear from us. Do you enjoy the format with the three of us, or do you want to see more guests, and what kind of guests would you like us to see? Please reach out to any of us on LinkedIn and let us know what you'd like to hear from us. We believe that you are the pioneer of economic prosperity, and we are grateful for you being here and allow us to share the journey with you along the way. Thanks, everybody. Bye.